Hello everyone, this is your instructor, Dr. Houck. I thought I would take a few minutes to say a few words about religion, specifically in regard to understanding what religion is and defining religion. I'm not really working from notes or anything, so this will be a bit informal, but I think you'll find it informative and helpful with the material in this section. Of course, you've read my extended commentary on religions in Module 1. That Chapter 12 came from the anthropology textbook that I wrote. So here I'll try to keep my comments focused on the topic at hand, understanding specifically what religion is and the definition of religion. First, religion is a distinctly cultural phenomenon. And I think that has been made quite clear in the materials you reviewed thus far. That, in fact, is one of the reasons why there are 10,500 different versions. Religions all seem to be very finely tuned to specific geographical, historical, linguistic, and cultural context. So religion is eminently cultural and needs to be understood in that way. As best we can tell, there's nothing universal about religion other than the fact, of course, that people everywhere use religion to deal with issues of uncertainty and mortality, etc. All religions, in my mind, have some sort of transcendent aspect to them. In other words, they all attempt to reach out or move beyond the mundane, quotidian world that we inhabit to an assumed supernatural sphere of existence and being. So, in my mind, that answers the question whether or not things like secular humanism and Marxism and so forth are religions or not. No, they're not. If they're not outward seeking, in other words, if they don't point beyond this world that we inhabit, then in my mind they're not religious. So this transcendent quality, in my mind, is very important in regard to determining whether or not some belief system or ideology is a religion or not. Another issue that comes up in the definition of religion is the worship of God or gods. As you've seen by now, the definition of religion that includes a belief in or worship of God or gods is a non-starter, simply because it would not even include some of the major world religions. For example, Buddhism, Jainism, Taoism, none of which overtly embrace beings that we would refer to as a god or gods, and certainly don't suggest that we worship anything like supernatural beings. So we would want to leave that out of a universal definition of religion. It's easy for us to get hung up on our own religion, and we tend to see that as the standard, so to speak. But I think after reviewing Module 1, you would see now that our view shouldn't be quite so myopic. We need to approach this topic in a global, cross-cultural sense. Religions are manifestly functional, especially from an anthropological or academic or scholarly point of view. They do things, in other words, for people in this world. Some would argue mostly positive, others might argue mostly negative, but one way or the other, they are functional to some extent. So that's important as well. And when anthropologists, for example, or sociologists study religion in their specific context, what they're looking at primarily is functionality. They don't really bother themselves with the truth claims of religion and other claims regarding the divinity of holy books, etc. These things are not falsifiable anyway, so they don't bother with them. And one final note here. There is something called spirituality today, and that is something that is somewhat distinct from religion. If a person is religious, then that means that they affiliate themselves in some way with organized religion, or religion understood in a cultural sense, in a historical sense. To be spiritual, an individual, in fact, does not have to, and in fact usually does not, affiliate themselves with an organized religion. The typical spiritual individual here in the West, for example, may have a belief in God or some sort of higher power, and they may even continue to embrace some of the beliefs and teachings and values of the organized religion into which they were born. But for whatever reason, they have chosen to go off on a somewhat individual path. They prefer not to affiliate themselves any longer with the organized aspect of religion. In one way, it's a way to continue to be religious, quote unquote, but yet in a very individualistic manner. So spirituality is something different from, or being spiritual is something different from being religious.